जयपुर via कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad to Punjab Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
Punjab and Gujarat said that we can't be left out. It's been 4 days. The 5th day also, we have to make this a thrilling match, which is why they took it to the last over, not the last ball, because Rahul Tewatia was there and he likes to finish it off against Punjab. Welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher. I have Pommie and Polly with me. Again, the master reader, you were right again when you said he's going to get it. And Gill's going to go. You called it again.
Oh, you mean during the last over? It's a fantastic game, though, isn't it? I love how, as we go along, there can be little twists that suddenly make you sit up and go, "Oh, is this done? Is it really, or is it not?" Because this game should have been put to bed a long time ago, and Gujarat didn't. They kind of strolled their way there. And it looked very much like they were quite happy to not take any more risks, even though they had all the resources in the dugout. And sometimes that can come back to bite you. I hope that it's a kind of big enough warning for them, especially like with what Shaun said earlier, to say, well, imagine you don't get there from a game you should have won with the ball at the end in the previous one, to one you were well on the way to winning with bat, and then you come out on the wrong side of that. It's pretty difficult to then pick yourself up because you're kind of scrambling. Both sides are kind of not going as well as you'd like. But they got there in the end, and I think we expected that they would get there, and it wasn't a big enough score from the home team.
Well, before we get to anything else, we have to applaud the man.
Oh, what? Just for being me? Thank you.
Round of applause.
2 out of 2 prediction games have been won by Pommie Mbangwa. So we have to give it to him and we have to say, well done, Pommie.
Okay, you have to. I like that. That's because you don't really want to, but you have to, right?
No, I thought you were trying to play naughty at the com box, but now I know that I have to trust you.
Ah, okay. No, but you didn't trust me outright first up. That's
I
okay.
did.
I got that type of face. Not a trustworthy face. Anyhow, you never know. As we said, talking about power plays this season have been pretty good, and teams have gone out the blocks pretty quickly. And when they haven't, I think is when we've been surprised, simply because they have more resource, don't they, when it comes to the batting side of things. So you have no real excuse not to go at the power play. If you can then have an impact player come in, if you lose too many wickets, then it kind of frees everybody up. And in order to take the advantage, take the initiative, you've got to go really hard up at the front and then see what you need to adjust as you go along.
We gave Ashdeep a big rap, didn't we, in the program?
We did, yeah.
Start to saying how well he's bowling in the first 6 overs. That was his most expensive over ever in the power plays in the RPL history. So it was a bit of a surprise at how easy, because it took all the pressure off him, and that's maybe why they were so lackadaisical about the chase, is that they were never really under run pressure. And then until the last over, you lose that wicket. But I can tell you, I've been in those environments, in the one RPL that I played in and obviously coached. We had one game where we went down to the last over and we should have won. It was a throw that came back and knock on, didn't get the bails off. And there wasn't super overs in those days. And those kind of things linger. And even that game that they've lost to Kolkata, they'll still be kicking themselves about it when it comes to qualification. If they make it easy, they'll forget about it. But if it gets touch and go, they'll still look back, oh, if only we just defended that. That was a guaranteed points in the bag. So the fact that they've got over there, because it did look, without that Tewatia little sweep, that can go pear-shaped. He misses that, hits the stumps, they probably lose the game. So, yeah, there's always a golden rule in teams that try and finish it in the over before. Give yourself those 6 deliveries to spare, just to make sure that you don't create those crisis situations. But all said and done, they've got the points and they'll be happy tonight.
They'll be happy tonight, and Shubman Gill will be very happy tonight. We spoke about him in the com box, and Pommie laughs because I have a whole lot of people that I really like watching, but Shubman Gill really tops that list because he's beautiful to watch. Today again, 67 of 49. Ridhiman Saha gave him that necessary support with 30 of 19. But just more on Gill because, again, a classic Shubman Gill knock, Polly. He just looks so beautiful to watch. He does everything perfectly. He doesn't try too hard. Just wonderful to watch Shubman Gill.
Yeah, pleasing on the eye. He's a wonderful player. He scores all around and he doesn't ever look flustered or rushed for time. And nice grip, he's held his hand in the right position. But 67 or 49, that strike rate, when you look at it, I mean, that's not overly impressive. But in the context of the game, they needed someone to post something formidable with regards to a score. He did that. 7-4 is just the 1-6. And he kind of sets things up. Everyone else bats around him. He just should have probably pulled the trigger a little bit quicker at the end. But it's good signs for him. He seems to be striking it well. And we've always touched on the fact that RPLs, if your top three are performing well and playing nicely, invariably you're going to have a good tournament and put yourself in good position. So from their perspective, it's fantastic to see him playing that way.
Only thing he probably might regret, because even in the first match, in the post-match, he said that he'd like to have finished the game off. Even today, he was there, he went for that shot, you had called it, so he couldn't finish it off for the team.
Yeah, and look, I think essentially it's a good innings and that's fine, and no issues in the end, all's well that ends well. But what you see as he goes along is that there is probably a decline in intensity to the way that he was playing through his innings. So whilst he's sort of up here at the beginning because got to go at them, and Ridhiman Saha probably gives him the cushion, but you still see that from both ends, both are going at them because they're trying to get themselves in the winning position. Again, I'll say, with the resources that you have, there should be no reason for you to, at the very least, reduce the intensity. You've still got to go at a high intensity so that you do not allow your opposition back. If you allow them back in, it's kind of the only chance that they have. And by that I mean, so up he goes this way, then he reduces the intensity and just knocks it about and just bats. And then suddenly, because it gets to a place they didn't think it would get to, thinks I've got to up it again, and that's in the last over. So now he's going from the tempo gone back down here to try and get back up there. And in fact, it's probably an ugly shot when you look at it, because that's not the way he plays. It's across the line. He's trying to hack it away, where normally he just caresses the ball through the covers or straight or lifts it if he wants to, but very controlled. But you can see there's some squeezing of the glue there. And for me, that's a whole tempo thing. It's a whole intensity going off. I also think you don't want to let games get to the end because a decimal place here or, minute difference in your net run rate at the back end of the tournament makes a big difference. And in games like this where you're chasing a small total, if you can get it done quickly, get it done quickly. It's not a retrospective thing where you think, oh, halfway through our games, our net run rate's not great, we need to do something about it. No, each game, be specific, make sure that you're getting things done clinically, quite quickly if you can. And if you can't, such as life, but if you can, make sure you do. Don't let yourself get to the latter stages and therefore give away that net run rate.
But Polly, that was the intent that Ridhiman was showing today, because 30 of 19. And I just feel, it's a little unfair. He's not really always spoken about. And I think he's one of the finest keepers that India has seen. And that also saved so many runs. Even with his keeping today, he was exceptional. So just the review that he took was exceptional. So there were a lot of things that he added, which has got Gujarat across the finish line.
Yeah, he is. He's a good package. We've always looked at him, and when you analyse his performance, once he gets through the first 6, it's a bit of an issue because he's not one of those guys who clears the boundary. So his actual job is just to get you 30 off 18, and then whatever you get from there is a bonus. It's to try and get you off to that fast start. You don't have to say much about his keeping. I think that's always been brilliant. I think he's probably been the best gloveman around for a long period of time. But that's why I think his niche is at the top of the order. And as I say, the job he's doing, he's not getting you 60s or 80s or anything like that. But in many ways, with the other guys he's batting around, he's doing the perfect foil.
and you know how it is. If you, perhaps you don't actually, you get films and there's the main actor, and you get support cast, and they all play an important role, and you take one of them away, that's when you notice they're not there, right? And it's the same sort of thing, I think, for Ridhiman Saha. Fantastic at the top of the order, the intensity correct, the intent right, the execution particularly good, more times than not. If he bats longer than 20 balls and if he bats 30 and 40 balls, it's still the same sort of intensity, does the same thing, so effectively he'll win you the game. And then with catching behind the stumps, with stumpings, with run-outs, with things that he tidies up, which everyone takes for granted, you just think it's going to happen. But if he's injured and he's not in that team, there's a big hole left, not just with batting, but all of a sudden you might have extra runs that are buys, a run-out that's not affected, where if he was there, he might get to the stumps that much quicker or move, the ball from far away from the stumps to the stumps and affect it. So there's things like that. And I'm sure with the kind of guy that he is, another nice guy, by the way.
Yes, which is why I said I would like to talk a little bit more on him.
So he's the kind of guy, though, who'll say, no need. Talk about it, yes, but he just needs to keep doing it.
Well, another nice guy who got his 100th wicket today is Rabada. Unfortunately, couldn't get the game for Punjab, but he was very impressive. First game he comes in, he was very impressive with what he's done today. Yeah,
I think they were looking for a fast start. They wanted to pick up some early wickets. When you see his facts and figures, it's quite impressive, isn't it? The amount of games you talk about, Lasith Malinga is probably one of the GOATs with regards to fast bowling. You'd probably say, Rashid Khan is the leg spinning GOAT and Lasith Malinga is the right arm fast GOAT. 70 matches, to have beaten it by 6. 6 isn't a small tale. And if you even go down that list, you have a look at some of the other guys where you think, I think Rashid Khan took 86 games to get there. So it's seriously impressive. His strike rate, you were touching on, Pommie, is average. He also bowls at that stage, yes, where you can maybe pick up wickets at the front and at the back end. But he deals with all that pressure remarkably well, and he's just a brilliant athlete.
Someone who's on that list, and I think it kind of bolsters what I was saying to you and to Harsha yesterday about Chahal and how good he has been in teams that have been fetching. And despite them fetching, he's been getting wickets and going at an economy rate. That's pretty good. See that? He's 83, and Shaun's talking about, Rashid Khan and how quickly he gets to 100, but he's faster than him. He's that good, and he's one of those guys. And when you talk about IPL and you talk about spinners, you'd probably, if you're picking 2 spinners, you might even pick him and Rashid because they're so different as leg spinners, and they'd both be assets in a side.
And probably for Sam Curran, if you have to chat a little bit, because the last over, he got it much closer than we thought it would be. Would you be happy if you were the bowling coach of the team with what Sam Curran's done?
Yeah, really happy with that last over. I think he'll walk away from this game feeling a little bit better about the contribution he's made for the team, and also what his game plan can or can't be on these Indian surfaces rather than, as I say, what we saw from him in Australia. I think the way he almost closed it out, there was nothing wrong with that delivery. I think it's just a great shot. He wouldn't have been able to predict that. Tewatia would have gone across and ramped him. I thought his effort, particularly at the back end, was really good. So that's better signs from him, and a settled Sam Curran is what they need.
I don't know if my producer is going to be very happy with this, but I'm not going to get this combination of these fierce fast bowlers on set. So I have to ask this question, is that, I couldn't get my question on Shami, and I know he's gone for 44, but Shami is somebody whose seam position is just delightful to watch. You've always hit the spot and loved hitting that spot on the pitch. You've done it time and time again. What is it with his grip? Because, I had a masterclass inside in the green room. I would like to share this with you all, but unfortunately everyone had to watch the match. I would have liked to put like a small camera there so all of you all could have watched it, but we'll get a little glimpse now because Shaun Pollock was telling me on how grips are different. How you should coach kids when they are younger, catch them when they're younger. So with a Shami, when you're trying to get that seam position day in and day out on that spot, does he go in with a little wider grip on the seam?
Yeah, I think he's just brilliant. I mean, he would have fiddled over the years with his wrist position, his seam position. But when you watch him in test matches, watch him in one days, it's always bolt upright. And what you need in India pitches is to try and get the seam to come out as nice and straight as that. In South Africa, we almost get a bit more of an angled seam because of the grass cover and the extra movement we get to swing through the air. But he's always been a brilliant example of a wonderful wrist position and being able to release it. And he just seems to get better and better over the years. So that's why I was a little bit surprised by what he went for. And you're going to have those bad games in the RPL. It's nothing to be too concerned about. But he's a wonderful performer. He has the art to come over around the wicket. He's a skiddy customer. He hits his areas pretty irregularly. He's got that good bouncer. Unfortunately, the bouncer tonight went for a few top edges, and that would cost him quite a few of his runs. But he won't be overly concerned. He is a quality player, and he'll continue to shine for them.
Pommie, if we have to come to you to ask the concerns that Punjab has and what they should probably go back to the drawing board, look at, change around.
I think they're searching for runs. And personally, I think that if they sit and try and figure out what and who their best team is, who's their best 11, who do they feel is their top 6, and who's their best bowling combination, I think try and get that and then be settled. And you've got to back whoever it is, because you understand, unless they look like they're horribly out of form, which it doesn't really look like that. I think it's just been a case of chop, change, chop, change. And when you do that, then nobody really gets a run and nobody really gets a grip on what's happening in as far as the tournament and getting into it. And so that kind of, instead of guys getting better, I think they get jittery as we go along, because then they're not sure of their place and they're trying to fix things. With their bowling, I genuinely believe that if they put runs on the board, their bowling is good enough. If you give them something to work with, they're going to be able to pull more games off than not, because they've got a decent grouping.
Well, we really hope that the batsmen come to the party. After today's game, Gujarat, I think, is sitting pretty at the points table. They are at 3. Rajasthan still at the top, but Gujarat's gotten those 2 points, so they are 6 as well. So Rajasthan, Lucknow, Gujarat all at 6. And Punjab is sitting there with 4 points. But Gujarat will be happy, right? Because they've got their 6 points in. They're going to be relaxed. It's just that one game which they should have won. So all good in the Gujarat camp.
It should be.
I think the earlier you sort things out, the earlier you qualify. So they'll be disappointed that dropping that points, because, I mean, with 1 over to go, they would have thought they would have secured that as well. I'm presuming on that graphic it is plus their net run rate. It's plus 0.3. There was one. There was no plus or minus on that one, so I'm presuming. So yeah, I think also they've got the finishing power, they've got the experience. They seem to have a good vibe in the camp. You know, after last year's success, everything looks, even when they were in that pressure situation, guys were laughing and giggling and that. And I think that's a hard kind of thing to quantify when it comes to these kind of tournaments. Everyone feeling good, positive about each other, having a good time. That's really important, because it's a long tournament. You know, we've only, 2 weeks into it. It's still a long way to go. So that good vibe will be important as they go along.
All right, then we also have to get along and see who plays tomorrow, because Kolkata take on Hyderabad in Kolkata. This is match number 19. And well, Kolkata is coming off that match, which is that historic game which has gone into the record books with what Rinku's done. So they'll be coming in with a lot of confidence into this game. Hyderabad, not so much.
I mean, good feeling. I think Shaun was just talking about good vibes, good feeling in the GT camp. And that's because they're champions. That's because, they could have had 4 out of 4. Things are generally working how they want. I think for Kolkata as well, if you pull one out the fire, just like they did there, it tends to send good vibes through the camp. And there is a certain, not so much security, but a confidence in the rest of the order, right? And Rinku Singh is a guy who has tried so hard for opportunity. I mean, I think of him and I go, so many times left out of that side, he'd turn up and field and make a difference for Kolkata. That's kind of saying something. Yes, he's got to have the skills as a fielder, but you've also got to want to do it. And he's been trying and trying for many years to make a difference, to become a part of this side. And he now is a real part of the team and somebody who I think they can rely on should things go awry. And that's just, I mean, it's out of this world. And some will say, oh, he's not going to do that again, not anytime soon. But you might have said the same thing about Tewatia, who's just played today and come and finish it. And that's a confidence thing, isn't it? The more times he does it, the more times he'll believe he can do it. So, yeah, I think they play at home. You've got to make sure that when you play at home, you do decently. It's tougher on the road. So it's an opportunity for them to use the good feeling and create some momentum. And they need to win. As Shaun said, you want to get it done early so that you're not scrambling at the back.
Yeah, I'm still a bit concerned about them at the top of the order. It's been a few seasons now where they've chopped and changed. And
they get Liton Das in tomorrow, so that also will probably change around because Venkatesh Iyer was settled in, but we don't know if Liton Das comes in tomorrow.
Yeah, we have to see it. I mean, I still don't. Cricbuzz hasn't really hit the ground running. So for me, it's those top two. Jason Roy, I mean, he's now in the squad. Do they go with him? I mean, he hasn't been in the best of touch. He got a bit of a score in Bangladesh, didn't he, not so long ago. So maybe he's turned the corner. And also Russ. We kind of haven't seen the firepower from him as yet. I'm not concerned about the bowling. I'm sure that'll come good, particularly on their conditions. But they would want the top two to be firing because, as we say, top three is so vital, top four, how they bat. And then that firepower, I mean, there's always that X factor. Whenever you play against them, you think, well, until Dre Russell's out, we still aren't winning this game. And he just needs to have 2 or 3 performances in the IPL to get the team believing that, hey, we've still got him to come and send shivers down the opposition.
You have to pick your 4 foreigners. Who would they be for tomorrow? They've quite a few because now that they've got Liton Das in, they've got that option coming in, they've got Jason Roy there. Yeah, so the West Indians, both of them, you probably pick them just about every time, Russell and Narayan.
Is Shakib still available or did he
No, he
bail?
pulled out. He pulled out. That's why Roy is in, actually.
Okay. I just saw the name there. I thought he had pulled out. Maybe I thought he had a turnaround.
No, he hasn't. He pulled, so that Jason Roy replaces him, I think. So Andre Russell and Sunil Narayan, I think you go with those two definitely. You need a batter. So I think you're making a choice between Cricbuzz, Liton Das, and Jason Roy. I think I'm picking one of those. And then what I would like, I think, is the option of whoever else on the bench as a sub. To be able to change if needed, if necessary. That way, I think you kind of keep it quite balanced and you give yourself some sort of option. And I think you should always give yourself the options if you can give yourself the options. If you can pick and have somebody who's going to be on the bench who's going to do that or not do that, then fine. But I think pick the 3, put a couple on the bench, and then go that route and see if you can work it out. Again, their bowling is okay, and what they need is some runs on the board. And those mystery spinners, nobody's been able to figure them out. So they've got 3 of them, 9 wickets in Kolkata the last time. So they're going to be quite a handful.
Yeah, they will. And I mean, they're class. I mean, they know the conditions there well. They know the variations. They know the speed. I think that's the key. Yeah. Some spinners, when they get to Kolkata, they can't quite work out. They go too slow, too fast, and that allows people to hit them. Whereas they've got it worked out. They understand that surface brilliantly. So I would expect another big performance from them to try and dictate terms, even whether they bowl or bat first. Hyderabad
has won their last game. They beat Punjab. So
You're talking about South African Risers Hyderabad, right? Because there's a big
big contingent
of South Africans. I mean, the bowling coach, the fielding coach. There's plenty of South Africans. We know our way around this team.
The captain, the keeper.
The captain, the keeper, the all-rounder.
Yeah, it's a side that needs to kind of get going in my mind. It doesn't help that the skipper comes in a bit later. Klaasen comes in also that little bit later. But they have the makings of a decent side. They have the tools. It's just over the years you watch them and you think, oh, they're almost always having to play above themselves. And as you watch them, you think, oh, do they have it? Do they not? They're going to play above themselves, and if they do, they'll be okay. I think they've got more resource this time around. I think they can cobble something together, and if guys play decently, then they'll sort of be all right. But yeah, it's a tough one away from home. And
They might have to play around Adil Rashid, I would think.
It's hard.
He might get a gig.
Yeah, but it's hard as you look at it. And I said, you want to have options. When you start off and your captain is an overseas, and then your keeper's an overseas, now you really have to look and think, okay, how do we fit anyone else in? And are you dropping a Marco Jansen who's tall, who can give you that variation? Are you dropping Harry Brook and taking, Adil Rashid's taking his place? Harry Brook, lots of money, right? And so it's balancing all of that. I think that's not so simple.
You think they'll play 2 spinners probably in the Kolkata pitch?
Well,
they've got Akil Hussain as well.
They've got Washington Sundar there as well. They've got Markham, hasn't. I don't think he's bowled any overs yet so far, and he was really good for them last year. Actually, really good in the SA20 as well. So they have got that option, and I think I would want to stick with Brook. I think he's got that potential, and as we talk about, always the top 3. So if you do get him firing, that's a massive plus for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they go with that, and who sits on the reserve bench as well. Akil Hussain is there. That will be slightly different because you've got Markand who's bowling really well at the moment, the youngster.
So from the South African...
The difficult thing, and I spoke about this before, in talking about Harry Brook, is that it's his first tournament, right? So, and that's kind of tough, isn't it? You kind of almost have to pick him, and you have to go. And I'm not suggesting he'd be dropped. I'm just suggesting that in a scenario where you're needing a lot from a batting lineup, and you've got this young bloke who's gone for the big bucks, that's not easy as he's trying to adjust to just the surrounds, never mind what he's playing on, never mind the magnitude of the tournament and all of that. So there's a lot riding on him. And as a team, they've got to do a whole lot, team management, captain, to make him comfortable enough so that he can produce what is his best. And if he can, we know how good he is. And it's wonderful to watch him, actually. He's just got something about him. You watch him and you think, how does he keep doing this? And really good player. It
is interesting when you talk about that. You look at in the history of the RPL, class players like when Williamson came in, he kind of really established himself. The English guys, like for example, Bairstow didn't play, and then they were all introduced, but they internationally qualified, Whereas to make your name, to try and enhance your reputation, if you're not 100% established at international, there've been very few. I mean, you think of someone like examples now, it's like a Tim David comes in, Canny or Conti, Cameron Green, Canny or Conti. They're all just bursting into the ranks of the Australian side. But to go on and be consistently successful in the RPL, that's what Pommie's touching on. It's a challenge. The bowlers have got more chance, I feel. But batting-wise, because of the nature of the surface, it's so different to a lot of the T20 tournaments around the world.
Well, if you help the South African captain and the Hyderabad captain, who would be the 4 overseas players that you'd choose tomorrow?
Well, I think I like Klaasen. I mean, he has come on leaps and bounds in the South African setup, and his plane of spin has been sensational. So I would think he'd be perfectly suited. You don't drop the captain. I wouldn't take Marco Jansen out of it. And as I say, I think I'd back Brooks. I think with them, the fact that they won so comfortably in that last one, I don't think they'll want to change too much. I think just maybe horses for courses. So maybe if there is the surface looking like it's going to spin, then one change from that perspective.
Your 2 players to watch out for, Pommie? One from each
to
team.
watch out for. Okay, I don't know.
Noreen.
I don't know. That's what I thought first, because he's kind of the go-to. I'm getting Klaasen for one team, okay, for Sunrisers, because I think he's just been in fine touch, and should he get into a bit of trouble and he plays the spin decently, and you're going to a place where it spins, and so you expect there'll be a lot of spin to play. It's quite good. Whenever anyone drops anywhere near short, he'll get on the back foot, moves quickly in the crease. And yeah, over a course of time, he's kind of got more confident. So that's with the Sunrise. And I think they might well need him to play decently with gloves and with bat. And then...
the only thing I'd add about him, Pom, is that he loves the spinners turning away.
Yeah.
Leg spinner, left arm spinner, he hammers those. We did see in that last series in South Africa, when they've got two that turn it in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not that easy just to play those pulls. So I'll be interested to see how he goes. But I'm fascinated to see how he gets it on, because I think the Klaasen that we saw in the RPL last season compared to where this Klaasen is now is chalk and cheese.
Different people. And then for the home side, I think Dre Russ. I think
he's due for one.
Sleeping giant, right? And I think it's time for the giant to awaken. So I'm going with him. You know, I'm going with Dre Russ. Kolkata needs something. They need stuff generally from their big players. All teams do, and he is one of their biggest players. So yeah, he needs to be. He also needs to be one of the leaders. And I know Nitish Rana is the captain because Shreyas is injured and is not going to be in the tournament. And so you look to what is a leadership group, right? And he is one of those guys who are right there at the forefront and needs to lead, not just in what he says in the change room, but with what he does out in the middle, because he can contribute back and also with ball. And let's not forget, when he does get going, he's pretty good with the fielding as well, decent arm. So yeah, that's why they have him there and have retained him for so many years.
Two people for you?
The good news is Pommie's going to be at the ground tomorrow.
Ah.
So he'll be watching it live.
I'm going to teleport.
You did a very good job calling it from the studio very far away. So on the ground, I think you'll be more accurate.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just the Cricbuzz magic. It's just a step Cricbuzz magic.
I'm looking to see Natarajan. I want to see how he goes again. I was impressed with his last outing, and I think he's finding his feet again. He went through a bit of a slump, so that's from that perspective. I actually want to see who they pick at the top of the order for Kolkata. I think that's the key. So whoever they do go with in the opening two, which of the internationals, I want to see how that gets on, because I think that's going to be key for their performance going forward. Someone there in that top two has to hit the ground running, has to produce. So whoever they go with, I want to see how they perform tomorrow.
I have an inkling they'll go with Jason Roy. I have an inkling.
Okay.
I don't know if they can actually because of the keeping, but I think I have an inkling.
We'll wait and watch if Nostradamus has all the answers, because he has an inkling, which means there's something going there.
No way.
You're going up in the ranks. Mbangwa one day, Nostradamus the next.
Tell you, after not trusting me, trying too hard,
All right, then we have to go and get the answers to the joy factor question, because, well, that's the time. The question was, this cricketer has played 10 ODIs for India, scored 1 duck, but also won 2 Player of the Match awards, one of them being on this date. Name him.
I thought the last time I said more ducks.
Yeah, that's what I thought as
I
well.
said 3 or 4 ducks or something.
Yeah.
Did you all have any clue?
No. By chance.
Guys, I wasn't born. I have no idea. I was not born for many years after this. So,
I was in standard 3.
Joy, sir.
And we didn't watch any international cricket.
He was in standard 3. Were you in standard 3 too?
Come on, Joy. Give us more like a South African question every once in a while.
Too historic, Joy,
No
sir.
chance.
Yeah.
But there'll be plenty of answers.
I'm sure we have quite a few winners, and let's see who's got it quickly.
Always.
Because we always have winners, and the winner is Subodh Agarwal. Subodh, congratulations. I have no idea how. I don't know. Have you been following cricket since 1848 or since Joyce has been following cricket? But well done. Well done, Subodh.
I think we need to add something to that and work out the time between when the question went out and the answer came in.
Maybe it's just Joycer with his fake handle. Maybe. Maybe he does that.
Because normally it's just a few seconds or minutes and the answer's there.
Hey, Shaun, I'd say I think that you just play really nice, but these comments that come up, I mean, goodness gracious. Maybe it's just Joshua with his fake handle. I mean,
No, but
what is
this
that?
comment, I have to give the copyright to Gaurav Kapoor because he's used it very often. So I'm just learning from the seniors. It's not me. It's Gaurav Kapoor.
And
all
you're
credit
also,
there.
You're also very good at like deflecting as well, extricating yourself from the trouble, right? Okay, well,
Okay, I'm not liking where this is going. So I think this is time when we should say good night because this is going to directions where it shouldn't go. But I truly have had a really, really good time and I mean it with all my heart because just the masterclass I've got inside on these little tips on grip and batting that maybe I'll be a better gully cricketer at least because that's all I can do. Thank you so much, Polly.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Pommie. I am going to be seeing you all soon, hopefully. Tomorrow you're off to the stadium. Do you come in tomorrow?
I'm in tomorrow.
So I'm off tomorrow, but I will be seeing you very soon and you very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. It was great fun and I won't be there, but we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good night and goodbye.
Jaipur via Kota,
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction,
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೈ
Hyderabad Punjab Express
পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें